Hey guys, my name's Jason and I want to talk to y'all today about some fall gear that you can bring with you to kind of make the experience a lot better. Some of y'all have seen my summer camping video. I wanted to go ahead and make one for fall. Last night it was in the 30s. It's about 50-60 degrees today. A lot of what's going to be in this video is making sure that you pack for all different temperatures of weather, going from shorts to base layers to jackets. So I wanted to make this list to kind of show you guys how you can be prepared for both the warm and the cool that fall brings. So the first one is going to be getting the right sleeping bag. Now this is a 20-degree sleeping bag. I use this one pretty much year round. On the other hand here, this giant one is a -30 sleeping bag. Now it's important to note that the 20 degrees that this is rated to does not mean that you will be comfortable down to 20 degrees. It means that you will likely survive to 20 degrees. This is a few years old, so I would say maybe that rating has changed a little bit for this one. But as a general rule of thumb, I would say go at least 10 degrees below what temperature it's gonna be there. So if it's gonna be 30 degrees, this 20-degree bag will be perfectly fine. You can stack it with some blankets, but I tend to go way below that, and if I get too warm, I'll just unzip it a little bit. Last night it got down to about 30 and I had this one with me and I opened it up and used it kind of as a blanket, and I did also use this one as well. But I think a lot of people get that wrong. They'll go out and see that it's going to be 30 degrees in the nearest town, but they're another 2,000 feet in elevation higher, and they'll have a 30-degree bag and it'll just be a miserable night. And in some cases, it can actually be very, very dangerous. So it's important to note that the human body can go hypothermic and its temperatures as high as 60 degrees. So it is really important to get this right. Make sure you get the right sleeping bag for the right temperature. So the second one is going to be an extra blanket. Now I have my Rumple here, which does pack down really nicely, but this just always stays inside my iCamper. So I've kind of lost the actual bag that came with it. This is really great because it is synthetic. If it's really cold out, I would recommend getting down, but down isn't as great with snow, water getting in it. It's just not as good. So I'd recommend going with a synthetic or possibly even a wool blanket. The wool is going to provide a lot of warmth, as will many of the synthetic ones. So this is the Rumple. This is a double blanket, and I really like this one a lot. It always stays inside my iCamper, and I don't have to worry about it getting super wet and ruined by the elements like a down would. So I always couple this with my sleeping bag. That way, if I have like a 30 bag and I went a little higher in elevation than I thought, it gets below 30, then I have something to kind of keep me a little bit extra protected. On top of this one that always stays in there, I do bring this Pendleton as well. Just like the option of stacking them if I really have to. Now Pendleton makes a lot of like really nice stuff like wool, stuff like that, but this one is just a synthetic. It's not super warm, but it's nice to stack. So this next one is going to be heated apparel, blankets, heated pads, stuff like that. As far as the heated apparel goes, that is very new to me. Something that you guys suggested that I try out, and I have been very happy with that. In my experience, heated blankets, stuff like that really do add just an extra element of warmth. And if it gets too hot, you can just turn it off and then it just becomes a blanket or a pad. And if you see my other videos, I do use a lot of Ignic products. I have the fire pit. I also have this heated seat cover. I just recently picked up this backside warmer. Now this is the smaller of the two. There is a larger one that will cover your back, but this one's a little bit smaller. Now I really like this one a lot because you can just change the settings on here and make it as warm as you want. I'm really excited to try this one out for the winter because I just need that extra little bit. So if you don't have an insulated chair, which I don't, I might be getting one this fall, but the bottom of those chairs can get really cold. So it's really nice to have like an extra 20 watts of heat to kind of keep your backside warm. Now this one is pretty similar to this, and I've had this one for a while, but I started using this one for the bottom of the dog kennel to keep him warm at night. So I found that this kind of just smells like dog, and I don't really want to use it up against me all the time. So I'm definitely going to be using this one this fall and winter for sure. It's just a nice little bit of extra heating while you're sitting down. You know, even sitting in your tent, you can use that. So the next one I use quite a bit is going to be this heated blanket. Heated blanket is great because for the most part, I would sleep with this underneath me and just kind of have heat coming up that way. If I feel like it's getting warm, I can just either turn it down or just turn it off completely and use it as like a regular blanket. This is great to bring along because, you know, in fall, the temperatures can fluctuate quite a bit. So it's nice to be ready for either the warm or the cold temperatures. I would personally recommend that you get a 12 volt. Now, this isn't going to be as warm, but it will draw significantly less power. I ran this all night plus the fridge, and this is only at like 75%. This is a 1400 watt power bank here. The downside to this is that you will need a pretty large power bank. You know, with the Ignic stuff, you can use kind of smaller power banks with like a USB-C. This one is pretty large and will use quite a bit of electricity compared to those, but not nearly as much as a wall outlet one. This also does pack away pretty small in this little package, but I was using it last night, so I haven't put it away yet. So the last one is going to be heated apparel. Now, this is something that everyone kept asking me if I would try out, and I really at the time didn't have any desire to, but the more I looked and researched, I found that these were very highly rated, so I went ahead and tried these out. These are, I believe, Boo or something like that, and these are heated gloves. These are really great. You can just zip away the little heater in there, and this will last you a really long time. So these are pretty warm on their own if you just use them as regular gloves. So if it's not too cold outside, you can just use them as regular gloves. But in the fall, you know, the weather does fluctuate a lot. So you can just press here 3 seconds. And now you've got the highest one, which is 140. I believe this one's a 125 and the green is 110. I used these last night and they were super awesome. I ended up just running these on green, and I ran the jacket over here on red. It's really nice. It keeps your fingers and your hands super warm, and I've been really happy with it. So I'm really glad that you guys suggested this because I'm gonna use these all the time. Super easy. Just make sure you keep them charged before you go out. The same goes for this jacket. If you use this jacket just as a regular jacket when it's a little warmer outside, not too cold, then this will work just fine as a jacket. But if you hold this down, you'll get red, blue, and green, and that'll be the same temperature as these. I thought these were really great because this keeps you warm in this section and on your arms. And honestly, I'm really happy that you guys suggested this because it's been really great. The company again was Boo. These were Ignic. I think this was just some one I got at Walmart or something like that. But I'll drop a link to an Amazon one of these, as well as the Ignic and the Boo, as well as pretty much everything I've talked about today. If you want to check that out, I will drop a link to everything below. The next one is going to be multiple layers. Now, this doesn't just mean heated layers. I would also recommend bringing shorts, you know, t-shirts, stuff like that. In the fall, it can be very unpredictable. You know, about an hour ago, I was wearing long pants and a full jacket, and I felt really nice. Although right now, I ended up switching into shorts and something a little bit lighter, and I feel a lot better. But because the weather changes so much, I actually end up bringing shorts. You know, I bring like a waffle shirt if you don't get wool. I would get flannel, long pants. I have my wool base layer shirt, wool base layer pants. This is backcountry, and these are smart wool. I also have my jacket. You know, when I'm packing for fall camping, I'll go down from like summer heat up to like winter cold and just make sure that I kind of hit all of the boxes. You know, don't be afraid to layer stuff in weird ways. Like I have a vest on with shorts and long sleeve. You know, just kind of being able to layer stuff correctly is really a nice way to stay kind of cool when it's warm out and very warm when it's cool out. Now, I would recommend getting yourself a pair of wool base layers. I'll drop some links to those below, but you know, it is a little bit more expensive. So if you're not looking to spend a lot of money, then you can go with just like waffle shirts like this. I think this one was from Duluth's, so it was a little bit more expensive, but you can always just go to Walmart and get yourself a waffle shirt and waffle pants and just, you know, base layers to keep yourself warm. I also like these insulated pants from Eddie Bauer. I use these a lot, but if you don't want to buy a separate pair of pants for that and you already like, let's say, ski or snowboard, then, you know, don't be afraid to just bring your ski or snowboard bibs or pants just in case. It's always nice to have that extra backup of warmth. So like I kind of said before, when it comes to fall camping or even spring camping for that matter, kind of plan for summer and winter at the same time, and you'll probably be fine somewhere in between. But you know, fall, you can get those extremes on either side. So along with wool, like this smart wool here, I would actually recommend also getting yourself some wool socks. A lot of people will consider these to be like cold weather attire, and you know, these will probably be like that. These are smart wool. They also have some thin ones like this that are nicer for the warmer weather. I typically will wear these in the summer as well. Now, the thing I really like about wool socks is that you can wear them in summer or winter, and since they're like an organic material, they kind of wick away sweat. There's a lot less chance that your feet are going to, you know, have an odor to them. If you're out there doing a lot of outdoor activities, moving around a lot, you're gonna be sweating. This is gonna help make sure that, you know, there's no odors or anything like that. But they're also just generally, I think, more comfortable, and I just like the way they feel a lot better. Currently wearing some right now, and pretty much 50% of my closet at this point is some variation of smart wool or even some just off-brand ones. But you know, there is going to be percentages of these on the back. I don't know the percentages of each of these off the top of my head. The downside to wool is that they are a little bit more expensive. I would start off with maybe 2 pairs and just kind of work your way up if you want more of them. I, at this point, have been doing this for a few years now, so I have a lot of them. So yeah, you might be spending like $20 on 1 pair of socks, which I think these were on sale for $10, but I think they were originally $20. I think originally you're gonna think that they're very expensive, but once you wear them for a few times, you'll realize that spending the extra money is definitely worth it. And also when it comes to safety, when it's super cold out, I think spending the extra money is definitely worth it. So the next one is going to be kind of in the same vein as the heated apparel. These hand warmers are really great, and I keep them honestly in my car at all times, just so that I'm prepared in case it gets a little bit cold. So these are the hand warmers. They also do have boot warmers. Once it gets a little bit cooler, I will be adding the boot warmers to my loadout. But the hand warmers stay in there all the time. These are really great because let's say you have some gloves that are just rated to, you know, like a cooler temperature. You can stack these with them and keep your hands a lot warmer. So these last for about 10 hours. So I've even found, like, especially in winter when I use these all the time, that I will stack these inside my gloves to keep warm. And then by the time I go to bed at night, these will still be running, so I can just throw them in my sleeping bag. So I'm probably going to be getting more of these pretty soon. I use these all the time in the winter, especially like snowboarding, and definitely while I'm camping. Keep them in my gloves, keep them in my pockets, and you can just throw these in when it's cool out, and when it's warm out, just not use them. So I think they're very versatile. So kind of another thing that I would recommend that some people forget, typically the main part of your body is going to be covered. You can get long sleeves, you can get jackets, you can get long pants, boots, stuff like that. But you definitely don't want to ignore gloves and like a nice warm beanie. If you're out in the daytime, like today, it's getting a little bit warmer now. So obviously the gloves are a little overkill, beanie's a little bit overkill, but like last night it got down in the 30s. So I immediately grabbed these. Gloves are really great because when your core gets a little bit cooler, your body is going to regulate blood flow, you know, away from the extremities, and it's going to focus more on regulating the body where your vital organs are, keeping those flowing. So your hands will be a little bit cooler when the blood flow is not there. So putting on gloves is a great way to just keep your hands warm. Now there will be different applications of gloves for different weather. This one is sort of a cool weather one. This is a smart wool one, and I would go down to maybe in the 30s with this, but I would also recommend getting something with like a shell. You know, if it's raining or snowing out, these are gonna kind of get wet and they're gonna be a little bit useless. Those Dubu ones I have, those are gonna be a little bit better when it's a lot colder, and also when you're doing stuff around camp that you know, you may be dealing with rain, water, just different elements. That one will also be pretty helpful. But it is important to have both kind of cool weather and cold weather ones just to keep yourself regulated. I would also say bringing a beanie is very important. 40 to 45% of your warmth is lost to the top of your head. So if you have a beanie or something like that, you can keep in the warmth, because you know, if it's like a warm day and then a cold night, then you can just kind of pop this on, and that way you're kind of prepared for both the warm and the cool. All right, so another really important one is going to be, obviously, you still want to bring, no matter what time of the year it is, you want to bring your medical kit. Now I have here the Dark Angel Medical Header Trauma Kit. This is just kind of a light trauma kit for emergencies. I find that I do a little bit more dangerous stuff in the fall and winter. There's a lot of fire bans here in the summer, so I don't often do a lot of chopping. I don't often have traditional fires as much. So I'm really putting myself in a lot more danger when it comes to fall and winter. And if you live somewhere where it snows in the fall like I do, keeping a medical kit on hand is something that's very important. And I just thought I should mention this on this list. And I'll probably mention this on every single list that I'll ever make because it is that important. So the next one is going to be heaters. Now I've pretty much switched over from this buddy heater to the diesel heater, but I think a lot of people still really like these, so I wanted to kind of show you guys these. You know, like I've said many times in this video already, it can get from very cold to very hot and very hot to very cold very quickly, and having a heater as a backup, whether it be diesel or propane, just a really great insurance that you're probably going to be fine. Now I've used a variation of this type of heater for many years and it's been fine for me. The real downside to the buddy heater is that it produces kind of a wet heat, so you will get some condensation. This buddy heater is indoor safe. It runs off a little propane bottles. You can also run it off this Ignic propane here, or even a big propane bottle if you get an adapter. Like I said, I've used this for years. I think it's great, but personally, I just think the diesel heater is better. But I didn't bring that one because it's pretty early in the season and I knew the temperature going into this. Plus I had a ton of backups anyway. But my recommendation is that you at least get a heater, and if you want to just spend a little bit extra money, I think the diesel heater is the way to go. I do have a video on that up here if you want to know a little bit more about the diesel heaters, but I think the buddy heater is also a great way to go if you want to go that way as well. So the last one I think might surprise some people, but that is going to be a fridge. This is the Set Power RV45D. It's super efficient, so I would just bring it pretty much year round. With the fluctuation of temperature that comes with fall, you know, it can be really hot one minute, really cold the next. Having something like this kind of keeps it regulated. So if you have like, you know, chicken or something in here or meat, it doesn't just keep going, you know, below 40 up to 60 down to 30, you know, keeping it kind of the regulated temperature that you set for it. Now you can also do a cooler, but I just found that this regulates the temperature exactly. I can set the temperature on here to 42 degrees, which is typically what I'll keep mine at. And you know, it will stay at 42 degrees. It is also insulated, so it works like a cooler as well. So this is about the same price as, let's say, like a Yeti anyway. I would recommend personally just going up to the fridge. So a possibility of a downside is if you're gonna be sitting for a long time, you'll have to get a power bank to run that. But while you're driving and while the engine's running, or if you have a dual battery system, you can just run it off of your car's power. So if you're gonna end up spending money on like a decent cooler, you might as well just spend a little bit extra money and go with something like this. Now, obviously a Dometic is gonna be, you know, about $1,000. So I would recommend, just personally from my experience, the Set Power products, because you know, for $300–400, you can get yourself a fridge that's pretty much just as good as, let's say, you know, one of the higher end brands like an ARB or something like that. You also don't have to have it on one of these slides, but I really like mine on the slide.